Topping today's news, the government rejects a select committee on immigration. The Public Accounts Committee questions executives at Works and Utilities, BPL Workers Union, threatening industrial action, and an armed robbery at a local fast food caught on camera. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Jcn Saunders. This is your JCN Evening News. The government rejected the request by the opposition to have a select committee on immigration in a vote of 22 nays compared to 5 yeas. 10 members of Parliament also absent, including Prime Minister Philip Davis and former Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis. On Monday, Opposition Leader Michael Pintard called on the government to establish a select committee to address the irregular migration and shantytown communities. Prime Minister Davis says now is not the time for a select committee. He says while the government appreciates the opposition's interest in the issues faced, now is the time for action.
We on this side don't see it as a necessary tool at this time. And I don't know whenever we'll see it as a tool, but at this time, as the minister has indicated, the time is for action, not talk. And yes, the situation in Haiti is informing a lot of this debate. And irregular migration is not just an issue involving Haiti. There is a huge migratory problem from the Latin America-ish area as well that we have to be alerted to. They're finding themselves on the southern borders of the United States, all right? And as soon as that is closed off, they'll find their way. The Bahamas, unfortunately, right, spread over 100,000 square miles, right, is the gateway to where everybody wants to go, to North America. And we are in that way, we're in that path. So our best defenses is that which we have been engaging in.
On Sunday, during his national address on immigration woes the country is facing, Prime Minister Davis announced Operation Secure, which is a collaboration between the police, the defense force, and immigration officers to ensure that the laws of the Bahamas are enforced. Meantime, Prime Minister Davis says if opposition members have good ideas and solutions that can be added to the government's efforts, those are welcomed and will be given all due consideration. The Bahamas Electrical Workers Union, BEWU, is threatening to flex its muscles, claiming unfair treatment. The employees of Bahamas Power and Light, BPL, say they are feeling unheard by upper management and frustrations are going unaddressed. President of the BEWU, Kyle Wilson, says he has heard the cries of his members and enough is enough.
There currently exists in BPL many concerns of the workers that seem to be passed over, unacknowledged, ignored and dragged out for far too long, despite the many letters and requests by the union and its legal counsel to meet and resolve them. This shows a blatant disrespect for workers and members who have carried this company through the Hurricane Dorian and the terrifying, deadly COVID-19 pandemic that took the lives of many of the members. Some of the major issues are the delayed processing of union dues, which is currently creating a myriad of issues for the union's financial operations and obligations. The implementation of an illegal and non-contractual pension scheme without consultation with the union and has been operating for 5 years without a pension board. And it's alleged only to be established on paper in late 2019, notwithstanding the deduction of members' funds for this pension prior to.
Added to that list was unilateral changes to medical benefits without union consultation, as well as a blatant moral buster or morale busting practice of hiring individuals who have allegedly received hundreds of thousands of dollars in a voluntary separation package only to be brought back to the company. Mr. Wilson says it is a blatant disrespect and the union is prepared to take whatever action is necessary if BPL's executives continue to disregard their request for a meeting and addressing agreements in the signed Memorandum of Understanding that they have not been fulfilled.
The MOU clearly outlines the framework of conduct between unions and the various government agencies and related companies to avoid industrial disharmony, but it seems to have no effect and no value at BPL. We, the workers at BPL, feel ignored and that the terms and conditions and the spirit of the MOU is not being displayed or felt at BPL. It cannot be a one-way street, and the members are saying to me that enough is enough. We are giving our all, but getting nothing back. We ask the company to come to the table in good faith and work with us to fix the issues. The union assures the public that we will not act irresponsibly, but we will do what we have to do to secure our benefits. Therefore, let the chips fall where they may. This union is willing to use whatever tools available in our box if management persists with the attitude of ignoring and disrespecting the union issues.
The union president says they are not setting a timeline for management to adhere to their concerns before taking industrial action. However, they will make decisions based on how the company seeks to address these matters. JCN will continue to follow this story. From the Public Accounts Committee, the Speaker of the House of Assembly, Patricia DeVoe, noted that she received a correspondence from the office of the Leader of the Opposition, which requested the removal of the Member of Parliament for Long Island, Adrian Gibson, from the Public Accounts Committee to be replaced with the member from Central Grand Bahama, Aram Lewis. The Speaker says she granted the request. Meanwhile, the Public Accounts Committee, where the opposition holds a majority of members, was expected to meet with veteran Permanent Secretary Luther Smith and other executives from the Ministry of Works and Utilities today to lay any number of questions in relation to decisions, policies, and spending at Water and Sewage, that's the Water and Sewage Corporation, WSC, and Bahamas Power and Light, BPL. Opposition leader Michael Pintar telling a local daily on Monday that the committee will leave no stone unturned in trying to get the government to be accountable, transparent, as it is the job of the Public Accounts Committee to analyze government spending. The committee is expected to share its findings with the general public once it has completed its assessment. Before members of the House of Assembly got on with the regular business on Monday, government ministers sought to answer questions laid to them by the official opposition. This is something the official opposition has been vigorously agitating for in recent weeks. Speaking on behalf of the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Public Service, Fred Mitchell, in his absence, was Minister of State for the Public Service, Pierre Glover-Roll, who answered about a half-dozen questions in relation to the public service. The opposition asks if the government is staying within budgetary allocations after completing several major labor agreements in the public service since coming to office.
The government has estimated that the annualized incremental additional costs associated with the labor agreements that we have completed since coming to office is $18 million. We honored our commitment to public sector employees when we came to office, and we brought much overdue relief to scores of workers, including teachers, nurses, doctors, and other public sector employees. So these commitments were long overdue, and our administration is proud that we honored the obligations to these workers in our country. The second question is, will the government indicate if it aligns with relevant related budgetary allocations for the current fiscal year? Yes, we can confirm that the estimated annual additional incremental costs associated with the completed labor agreements align with the related and relative budgetary allocations for the current fiscal year. $20 million was allocated for labor agreements in the financial year 2022-2023. The government remains committed to ensuring that all budgetary allocations are carefully managed and monitored, and that all are in line with the government's broader fiscal goals and objectives.
The opposition asks the government to explain how the projected cost related to the new labor agreements in the public service aligns with the reduction in public sector staff-related costs, which was projected over the medium term in its fiscal strategy report of 2021. Minister Glover Roll explained that the government in fact forecasted a growth in public wages over the medium term from $863.9 million in the financial year 2023 to 2024 to $941.7 million in the financial year 2026 to 2027. She then went on to answer a question first levied by Kimsley Ferguson, president of the Bahamas Public Service Union, during recent labor negotiations.
The question: will the Honorable Minister advise this Honorable House as to when the government will pay the senior civil servants who have been sent on administrative leave and were found to have done nothing wrong, who were deployed out of their positions, and who were stripped from their legal posts and lawful secondments, the same way they have settled matters for the Financial Secretary and others? Well, Madam Speaker, this question seems to be in response to some accusation. So it's not clear what the accusation is or any specific names referred to. So I will say that personnel matters are confidential and private, and they will not be discussed without the leave of the individuals in whom they would probably be referring to.
The question and answer period went on for much of the morning session on Monday. Love 97, JCN. We'll have more on the various ministries' responses to the opposition's questions in a later report. And finally, in this segment, the investigation into the death of late Kenneth Darville is nearing completion. The 33-year-old mother of three died on January 19th, just days after she went on Facebook Live claiming mistreatment and neglect by healthcare workers at the Princess Margaret Hospital and pleading for blood donations. Dr. Darville says he made it very clear that the Public Hospitals Authority and the Princess Margaret Hospital should move very quickly with this investigation.
To ensure that the case is investigated, I've been informed that we're near completion of that investigation, and very soon the family will be contacted by the managing director and the team at the Public Hospitals Authority.
Just last week, the family of Mrs. Darville held a blood drive at the University of the Bahamas in her honor and to ensure that incidents like this do not happen again. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back after these commercials.